NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst you legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight. Hey gang, so I got a new book out. It's called The Upside of Fear, and it's exactly what you think it's about. It's about the good side of, well, getting scared. In it, we talk not only about the science and biology behind fear, but the psychology as well. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from some of the best in the sport. Omar Alhigelan, Jeff Provenzano, Maxine Tate, and so many more have contributed their sometimes terrifying stories to the book to help you overcome your fear. So head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com. You're going to find the link to the book there, as well as the other books. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook right now.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast and talking back in the UK again. I like where this has been going. Tell me, who the fuck are you and what do you do?
So I am Vana Parker, and I am a lowly formation skydiver.
A lowly formation skydiver. Yeah, no, I'm not going to buy that. No. You've been pretty busy in the sport.
Maybe I'm an enthusiastic formation skydiver. Shall I say that? And I still love it so much.
I like that. That's actually a really good way to put it. Enthusiastic is definitely, well, I mean, you're a lot more than just an enthusiastic jumper. I mean, we're talking big time competition and going strong for a while.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have been, when I think back to the numbers and stuff, you know, oh my word, but I did my first four-way competition in 98 and my first world championships in 2001 and have been basically competing at almost every one that I could since then. And last year, 2022, my team finally won the female world championships, which was the ultimate goal from the beginning, and I made it. So.
It's crazy when you sit and you look back and you start to, because I don't know about you, but I don't really put numbers to my career in skydiving all that much, more than anything, because when I do, it's terrifying how many have gone by.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that's the thing, you know, and I've been listening to a couple of your podcasts, and, you know, people that have managed to become world champions kind of in their 20s. And I think it took me a long time, you know. I mean, I turned 50 this year, which I'm kind of trying to embrace that. But basically, you know, it took me a long time to become a world champion.
Yeah, it's definitely a different journey for everybody. And I mean, you and I come from the same generation in that we didn't have a lot of the training tools that they have nowadays to reach those goals so early. We did it one jump at a time.
Yeah. I mean, I really started competing in South Africa because I was, you know, started jumping in the UK, and then almost immediately I moved to South Africa. And then you were jumping out of, you know, 206s, Cessna 206s, 182s, whatever, you know, went up to nationals the first time and got to jump out of a Pilates Porter. It was just so exciting.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know, and now you kind of like almost don't get up for it, and, you know, you don't want to get in the plane unless it's a Super Van or an Opta or something, you know.
Sure. So let's jump you back all the way to how it got started. How did you decide that, especially because you started in the 90s when skydiving was not a particularly popular or mainstream sport? How did it kick off for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always up for challenge, you know, and I think I've heard a lot of people say you thought you'd do one jump, you know, one skydive on your kind of bucket list. But I was at university during Freshers Week, walking around all the, you know, the stands for the different sports. And in fact, I was looking for the kayaking stand because I was quite into kayaking at the time. I thought that'd be quite cool. And next to it was the university parachute club. And I just went, oh man, I've got to go and try that, you know, let's just go and do one jump. And, you know, then I've done it, tick, great, you know. Of course, you get to the skydiving club, do all the training, and I did static line. And in fact, at that time, which is madness now, I think about it, you were still jumping round parachutes. So 94. So if you were from a university club, they said you were poor. So they were the ram air canopies, but you know, for some reason we jumped the rounds. So my first, I don't know, 12 jumps or something is around, you know, with a reserve on your front. And I mean, now it's ridiculous, you know, but so I did a few jumps, got on to free fall, whatever. And then I went to South Africa as part of my university degree to work at the University of Cape Town. And when I was there, I immediately landed in Cape Town and thought, right, find the skydiving club. And within a day, I had like 100 friends, you know, knew where the skydiving club was, etc. And they made me do the first jump course again because they only jumped square parachutes, and they couldn't believe that I'd come from England. I was so backward, you know. And so I did the first step, and then had to redo kind of a few of the levels, and, you know, and just loved it. You know, and you go and do the one jump and you think, okay, this is not just about one jump. There's a whole sport here. The people that were there, the camaraderie, the characters that are in skydiving, it's just incredible, you know. And yeah, and the other thing is I'm very competitive. I've always been quite a driven, competitive person, and I spotted really soon that there were teams that were training, and I love that whole teamwork thing, and they were training for competitions. I went, okay, now you need to tell me about this. What is this competition? So yeah, four-way became the thing, formation skydiving, and
it's funny that you say that people in South Africa were saying it was backwards coming from the UK, because from where I sit, the fact that most of the Brits that I've had on the show got their start in some type of a university club, and I knew nothing about any of that shit in the States, nothing. So it might have been backwards that you were jumping around parachutes, but you were jumping.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Which is really cool. So what were you going
about? If you think about the round parachute, I don't know if you've jumped around.
Oh, hell no.
Look at me like I'm stupid. But it's an incredible, like, it's quiet. Like when the parachute opens, it's quiet because this thing isn't whizzing through the air or whatever. And I was sort of, you know, remembering that a couple of days ago, thinking, yeah, because now, you know, it's all open parachute, high speed, need to land quick, you know, whatever, run to the next load, etc. So it was quite different, you know, a good experience.
I would imagine. Well, I remember thinking back when I first got started, I was jumping like a PD 210 at the time. And it was quiet in that you weren't going very fast because it was such a large canopy. But as a student, your slider is just doing that whack, 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 which was hideously noisy. And then, of course, you eventually get to a collapsible slider and you trade that noise for the wind noise. And so, yeah, my career's been very noisy.
Yeah, especially flying airplanes.
As a matter of fact, I had Melissa Nelson gave me a great piece of advice way too many years too late, which was wear earplugs.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
So what
I
were you?
wear earplugs all the time, and I tell people, and everyone I see, often in the plane, I'm saying, how come you haven't got earplugs in? You know, and I know I've had hearing assessments, and I have lost a little band of my hearing or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's from not even, I guess, even if I was wearing them. You know, it's
I have proper tinnitus, and that's 100% from free fall, followed up by way too many years of jet engines. So yeah, a little bit more permanent damage there. So what were you going to school for?
I was studying environmental science at the time, and then I thought I was going to go into that field and become a kind of an academic. I even started doing a PhD in South Africa in order to carry on skydiving in South Africa, because the weather and everything is perfect there.
Sure.
But yes, I kind of moved away from that. And got
environmentalism to burning a lot of jet fuel.
I know it's a bit of a conflict, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I like to try and do my bit and, put the garbage in the different bins and all that stuff, especially living in Finland where I do now. But I also burned God knows how many years of kerosene, so tough to balance.
Yeah, I think it is hard to balance, but you need to do what you can do, and it's about what you think is
fair
right,
enough.
kind of thing. Yeah.
So you got started in the sport, you're doing jumps on rounds, you end up in South Africa where it's a bit more accessible and you're jumping more, and the competition bug gets in you young. So
yeah. I mean, the funny thing was that, and I don't know if it's a bit of an urban legend, but obviously I had to redo the first jump course in South Africa. And that one of the instructors from that course, he claims that I said to him, I'm going to be a world champion one day. Now this is 94, right? So it's quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I probably was the sort of person who said, I'm going to win stuff. I'd like to win nationals or whatever. That's my sort of goal. But yeah, I mean, and this was I was jumping in a small drop zone, but the weather was good, so you got to do quite a lot of jumps. And I was fortunate, met some great people who are happy to, if they see an enthusiastic, keen person, they're happy to pull you on to skydives. And as I say, got into a team, and 98 was my first nationals. I don't think we did very well, but and there was no rookie, intermediate, whatever. I just jumped straight into AAA and got on with it. I had no idea what was going on, but and then when, in fact, 99 they had the World Championships in Australia, and I wasn't there, but they introduced the female category, and in fact, my husband was competing 8-way in that year, and he came back along with there was a girl in his 8-way team who said, we need to send the female team to the next World Champs, because it's a great thing that gets more women in the sport, etc. So I did that in 2001. I was in the South African female team, which was an incredible experience to be exposed to, international competition and the people you meet. And I mean, some of my awesome friends now I met, then 2001, whatever. So, likes of Gary Smith and Craig Girard, people like that, you're like, heroes,
Yeah.
So, and then sort of carried on. I found the female thing quite hard because I was very driven, and probably it wasn't, I probably wasn't sympathetic enough. I kind of thought, right, we're going to do this and we're going to do it as hard and fast as possible. And I had a nickname in South Africa of being the EB, which is Energizer Bunny, like Duracell Bunny, because I was like a bit too enthusiastic about everything. And then it changed to PB, okay, which was Pushy Bitch, which I didn't find an insult actually, but every time I tell the story, people go, "Oh my God, that's bad." And but I had a bit of a wake up after that thing, because I was pushing hard, and and that doesn't necessarily work in the team environment. So I got invited to join the open team with 3 guys who said to me, right, you can join the team, but you need to toe the line, right? We're not having any of you pushing and you forcing us and whatever. We want you're going to fit in, or or you can get lost, kind of thing. And so we went to the 2003 World Championships in Gap, which is such a brilliant event. But I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to be one of the lads. I'll be one of the lads, you know. And I ended up taking beer wagers with the Aussies, you know, so taking bets with the Aussie team. And Jason Cook was in the Australian four-way team at that time. So honestly, I've never drunk so much beer in my life. I mean, I must have put on like 5 kilograms of weight because I was like being one of the lads and trying to relax but you know. And then I kind of realized it's not really me, that sort of thing. But it, you know, we then carried on and in the South African Open team, and just, you know, you learn about team dynamics and how important it is that people get on and that you appreciate other people and that you can, you know, you need to be able to work together in order to enjoy it, to do well, all that sort of stuff. So I had a sort of a rude awakening, I think. Good for me. Sure. And now I like to think I'm a reasonable teammate because I'm a bit more sympathetic.
I mean, it's not like you're changing who you are. You're just tempering who you are to fit in with that team. You're still you. You're just like, okay, I don't get to be full blown me right now. I need to back it down a bit.
And I mean, you can be super enthusiastic, but you don't need to. You shouldn't be pushing other people. You shouldn't be, you know, getting cross with people because they're tired or they're whatever. You know, there's a better dynamic, there's a better technique to saying, hey, how about we do one more jump rather than two, or, you know, you're encouraging rather than, and certainly, you know, I was in the Open team. Had a brilliant time for many years. In 2012 was the last World Champs I jumped with the South African Open team, and that was, you know, and those guys are like my best friends. You know, we're booking our ski trip now for March to go to exactly those 4 people, you know. And so we are super mates. And then I had then we decided we were going to become British, you know, because 3 of us were then actually living in England. You know, I married a South African thinking I was going to be safe and live in South Africa forever because I loved it and I don't like English weather. And then he needed to move to England for work because I was like, spoiled, you know. But one of our teammates also moved at the same time. So there's 3 of us now living in the UK. And basically we said, we were competing at British Nationals every year as guest teams. And then we said, look, we've all got British passports, you know, why don't we become British, you know? So I think it was 2014, we jumped with an incredible girl, another girl, Liz Matthews. We'd been training with Gary Smith as our 4th member of the team, so he was a player coach. And then we slotted Liz in, we did one training camp with her, and then we won British Nationals, which was just incredible, you know, as a British team. So that was pretty cool. But I think I had a little blip out because I had to go for surgery on my ankle that I'd damaged many years ago. And then I was at the first indoor World Championships in 2013. And there was people chatting saying, hey, there's a British girls team that need someone to join them. Do you want to join? And I said, I've always said I'll never jump in a girls team again. There's no way. I'm not jumping with girls, not going to do this thing, whatever, you know. They go, yeah, but it's kind of fully sponsored and the girls are pretty hardcore that are in the team and you should meet them and whatever. Anyway, and I met and I just thought, actually, I don't, you know, this is an opportunity. I'll just do it for a year. Let me see how that goes, you know. Anyway, that was 2015. I'm still in the same team with, you know, the girls are just incredible. You know, Anna Hicks, Anna Lee now is, you know, these are not girly girls. You know, she's a military doctor, you know, she's hardcore and just driven and focused and the same outlook and the same view. And, you know, so it's been really cool.
So you found you found your tribe.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I didn't think I wanted to be part of that scene. And it's been an incredible journey. You know, we've changed lineup over the course of those years, but you know, and we have the most amazing, you know, Sian Stokes joined the team and she's just absolutely brilliant, incredible flyer, amazing individual. And you know, the lineup that we won, you know, the silver medal and the gold medals with Cass Curtis as well, and they're just incredible individuals, you know. And that's when you realize, you realize how important team dynamics are and that kind of trust and respect and, you know, all of that. So
Now,
the journey's been amazing.
how did the family take this transition from environmental stuff into I'm gonna go jump out of airplanes?
Well, I was jumping already, so it's all about finding what you want to do. I mean, I didn't finish my PhD because I got married and moved up to Johannesburg and was basically then involved in running the Johannesburg Skydiving Club. So it was a full time. We owned the Pilatus Porter, and my husband and I, and his business partners or whatever. And I was just tasked with making sure this plane can fly, and I had this huge passion to sort of grow formation skydiving in South Africa and make it like a force to be reckoned with. I wanted every World Championships that there was maximum formation skydiving teams there, and in order to do that you have to bring people up.
Sure.
And I mean, I've got some brilliant friends who I did a rookie team with them, and it was trying to juggle on the edge of everything else that I was doing. And I was already in the national team at that point, but I thought, okay, I'll do this rookie team, And the three people that were in this team, the first nationals we went to, we got a 1 average. So we managed to score 1 point average, 6 rounds or whatever. But, the following year we then won with the record. And the next year we went into intermediates and won. And, and those guys are now almost full time in skydiving. Carl Mayer works in the US now for Vigil, and the two girls who are in the team are AFF, I think, in examiners or something in South Africa. They've done so well.
Sure.
And Amy was actually my teammate for quite a few years. So in the open team. So that was just super fun.
Sure. Now, when you transitioned back to the UK, was it a hard adjustment? Because I mean, you went back to pretty sketchy weather for jumping, and did you guys transition into a lot of indoor training and stuff?
We did quite a bit, yeah. And I mean, I have never really trained in the UK in any of the teams because the weather is just so bad.
Right.
We tried it during COVID actually that year. We were at the skydiving club a lot, and it just was ridiculous. The week we were training, the weather was horrendous, and that's heartbreaking, sitting on the ground, drinking tea, looking at clouds, and oh man. So no, we do a lot of tunnel, and then we train in, like last year we did a couple of camps in Dubai, and then in Puri Barber we probably did, 10 camps there or something. It was yeah.
Well, that's where I know we talked before the podcast that our paths certainly crossed in Dubai, because I just left there last year and I was there for 10 years previous.
Wow.
So would you have competed in the World Air Games out there?
We did 2012, and I think that was at the World. Yeah, that was with I was still South African at that time. And then since then I've just been back doing training camps out in the desert or whatever. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of the perfect operation just because of the weather and accessibility to aircraft. And I got to say, they always did a really good job of when teams would come out to really try and accommodate teams and training and such. And so pretty great place to go out and train.
Oh, it's brilliant. And like air conditioned hangars and packing area is going to be the ultimate, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, the World Air Games was the first time I ever saw that kind of pomp and circumstance for a skydiving event.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you were there for the opening ceremonies for WAG, you're sitting in the bleachers going, this can't be for fucking skydiving.
I know.
You would have thought it was the World Cup.
Katy Perry at the
yes,
the final, this closing ceremony, you're going, this is madness,
Right.
Yeah, and because the World Champs before that was in Russia. And we've been to some slightly dodgy places that and then that event was just incredible, wasn't it?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I still have a very warm place in my heart for all those dodgy places and dodgy events.
Yeah.
Because they're just so much fun, and I mean, you kind of have to fight to not have a good time at a place that's just cobbling shit together, and everybody's trying to make it better. And then you go to some place like Dubai where you're literally waiters and waitresses asking if you'd like another drink, and
ice statues with the food, with the buffet lunch. I mean, we've always called, the lunch that you get during a World Camp, we've always called it slop, and you arrive in Dubai, they had
Ice sculptures and sliced roast beef and chicken and pastas and oh yeah, no, I know. It was just the most bizarre, wonderful thing ever. And then of course all the competitors' tents all ringed around the landing area. And it's pretty spectacular.
It was spectacular. I mean, in Croatia we went to in 2004, and the venue and everything was great, you know, but they had massive storms before the competition started, that all the competitors' tents were washed away. And so they literally, everything was broken, and there was just the land areas, you know, whatever, bogged. And I mean, it was just horrendous. And we sort of ended up, you know, like refugees in the main sort of hangar with these tiny little areas rather than beautiful delegation tents or whatever. And in fact, for us, the round one was the first jump we'd done out of the MI8, because there was no training because the weather was so bad before the competition started. So
that's pretty wild too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously between initially competing for South Africa and then forming the British team, you pushed through a whole lot. And I mean, especially again, congratulations on last year. That's
Thank you.
An incredible accomplishment that you've been working towards your entire career.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was tough. Last year was a particularly hard year. We tried for years to get good sponsors and to get the number of jumps in. And, you know, in fact, our goal had been that 2020 would be the year that we sort of really pushed to try and get that gold medal. And because the French had rejigged their team, and the Americans and whatever, you know. So, I mean, the French team in 2018 were just unbeatable. I mean, they were just incredible. So we got the silver medal that year, but we knew there was no way you'd get closer than that. And so, you know, and then of course COVID hits, and it's all absolute chaos, and we couldn't jump, and, you know, we had lineup changes and lack of sponsorship, etc. So then 2022, we managed to persuade Kath, who'd been jumping with us in 2018, to come back into the team. And, you know, we said, right, what is it we need to do? You know, what if we're going to win, what do we need to do? Or win, or do as well as we can. And we said, well, it's 500 jumps, and it's this much money, and it's this much, 40 hours in the tunnel. And so how do we make that happen? We had no sponsorship. You know, British Skydiving, because of COVID, had stopped all funding, and they used to help fund teams or whatever. And in fact, Anna and myself made a decision to fund the team, you know. So, and I just figured, you know, I've been trying to do this thing for so long. So I, in fact, sold a house to pay for for my half of the team. And, you know, and then Anna, you know, did kind of similar crazy stuff like that, because we just knew we didn't have time, you know, with our own lives and jobs and families and else, we didn't have time to be searching for more sponsorship, you know. So we just had to focus. And as I say, we did 10 or 11 training camps, you know, over the course of the year, and just needed to throw everything at it and focus. And, you know, not only that, but you're doing, obviously, you know, as I said, I was 49 years old, you know, I need to be strong and as fit as the 25-year-olds that I'm competing against.
Sure.
So, which means that even when you're at home, you're training, exercising an hour and a half a day, you spend time visualizing, you're using sports psychologists. We just literally everything we could, every little thing, you know, when you're making that decision about what you're going to eat. And, you know, you're thinking, well, I don't think that extra cake or the glass of wine is going to help me become a world champion, so I'll say no to it.
Right.
You know?
Well, and on top of that, I mean, you're going up against teams like the 2018 French team, the French notorious for supporting their athletes in such an incredible way. So that's got to be even harder, too, when you're selling your house to compete and the French have a free ride. It just, I mean, you got to just want to go up and slap somebody.
I think, but you kind of know that that's where you're at, you know, and it was like, you know, in the American, because we knew, like, the French and American teams are strong. I mean, they've beaten us before, you know, both teams are super strong, and they get a lot of support, you know, and they, quite a lot of them, you know, work in skydiving, or they have funding, as you say, from the federation or whatever. But, you know, we're never going to get that in the UK. And so So, and I'm, British or South African, but British, this is the only way you're going to make this happen. And is it worth it? And you, a little bit of soul searching, and you say, it is.
Sure.
And it was. So I literally did that. And I mean, I'm so lucky. I have the most incredibly supportive husband and family, and everyone is kind of understanding of where you're at. But the classic thing is obviously that you put yourself in that financial position. And I mean, now I'm 50 years old and I'm skint. And I mean, most of the world champions I hear you've spoken to, they got to become world champions at 25 and they had no money at that point. But then they can go and work later. I mean, I'm 50 years old, right? I'm sitting here going, I really want to compete at the, indoor nationals. I better sell something to pay for my tunnel time. I mean, it's a crazy position.
It's really hard to explain our drive in this sport to anyone outside the sport, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean,
and I think, it's that classic thing of when people ask you and they say, so when you win this, is there money reward? Do you get money? Do you get, and you say, no, but I get a fake gold medal. Well, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, it's very hard to explain. I mean, I've had like canopy pilots like Nick Batch on, and of course it's life and limb and everything that he put and all you guys put into it, and broken bones and tears and all this stuff. And what do you get out of it? Oh, I got to stand up on top of the podium to get this medal, and we had a really nice party.
Yeah, you get to hear. I mean, that's my thing, is hearing the national anthem. And you in 2019 actually we won the indoor World Cup, and the first time of hearing the national anthem was a big thing. Yeah. But last year it was, outdoor world champs is the ultimate, and to be standing on there, and it was the first time I think most people had heard the national anthem of God Save the King as opposed to the Queen, but it was you cannot even bottle that experience. That that it's the ultimate, So.
Well, but it was quite a battle to not just get there, but even through it. I mean, you guys had to do a lot to get there and make that dream happen for yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we, as well as deciding we were going to start on this training program, and we were going to do whatever we could to make this thing happen, and you have to be quite bullish, I guess it is, to really want this. But we, absolute disaster hit for us. I'm going to say mid-August. The British skydiving basically suspended one of our teammates from jumping through an allegation that had been put in that subsequently is proven to be a horrific mistake on their behalf and completely unfounded. But she was suspended, and we'd already done over 400 jumps together or whatever. So we were then not allowed to compete at the UK nationals that year. And we're the reigning national champions, and we want to go back in. It was to do the British nationals end of August, then we're going to the world champs in October. It's a great stepping stone, etc. But yeah, so we were not allowed to compete. At that point, we were a team. We've done so much together. We've sold houses. We've given up. I mean, I have children. I've not, deserted them. I've done, all these kind of things. People are sacrificing work. They've got no leave left, everything else, in order to do this. And then this thing happens. And they did say, oh, well, you can just get an alternate. Someone else can jump with you. And they're saying she's the strongest member of our team, and the fact is we are a team. There's no way. We've done over 400 jumps together. It's not going to happen. So it meant that we ended up spending even more money going, instead of competing at nationals, going and we just carried on training with this belief that this thing was going to sort itself out. And it was such a ridiculously stupid mistake. But on British skydiving's part, but then basically no one was listening, and it's the nature, I think, of these sort of membership organizations where you've got volunteers on councils and making decisions, that when you realize you've made a mistake, no one's prepared to back down. It's kind of like you sort of perpetuate this thing to the point that we ended up having to, the team member had to get lawyers involved, in order to make them sit up and listen. And we ended up contacting Aero Club and the FAI to intervene in this process, saying this is ridiculous. And I mean, the bottom line is, and this fight was just huge, and you takes the focus away from the skydiving. And I mean, I still suffer from panic attacks and sleepless nights worrying, and this is a year later, right? But at that point, I mean, you've been training, you're fit, you're worrying about what you're eating, everything else, and now you're fighting something else, Basically, she was unsuspended. I think it was 6 days before we flew to Eloy.
Holy shit.
6 days before, we suddenly went, oh my God, we're actually going. We're going to Arizona. We can compete. And we were saying to them, this is a chance to get a world championship. We could win this. The last time you won it was 2008. We've had no gold medal since then for Britain. But so a week before, and of course, all the stuff that I talk to teams about when I coach and stuff is visualizing and preparing. 6 days before, we suddenly went, oh my God, we need to now visualize going to a meet. What is it going to feel like when the French team walk in, when the Americans walk in, when we're focused? And we hadn't thought about any of that. We're like shoving stuff into bags, running out the door. And but I think, and it's been really hard. And what's been really hard since then is the fact that we still are not recognised. British skydiving is still not recognising us. They refuse to put media, coverage out for us when we got back. We still are not being, still are not recognised, almost being cancelled as a team, which is, it's just heartbreaking, because you realise you want that gold medal, but you also kind of need recognition. That's part of the process. And because it's British skydiving that said stuff, there's a lot of members that think there's no smoke without fire, so then it must be true.
Sure.
But so we're still suffering a bit with the sort of mental health and whatever a year later. But the truth is, we got to Arizona, and when you're there, the international community supports you. Everybody was so pleased that we were there, and so supportive. And actually, when this fight started, I think our team got stronger, because we decided we were not going without this. We were going as this unit or not at all,
Sure.
and we were prepared to sacrifice all the stuff that we had done in order to make it. But and in some ways, maybe that meant that we were stronger. I mean, there was no infighting within the team.
Sure.
As soon as this thing came up, we were together. Our backs were against each other, and we were fighting. And that, which perhaps maybe the reason we won. I'd like to think the 550 skydives and the focus would have done it anyway.
Well, if anything, it must have made standing on the podium just that much more amazing.
Yeah, I think
had
so.
to. I mean, even if it wasn't part of the motivation, which there had to be a little bit of motivation into fuck this, we've gone through all of this and now we're here, we're going to do our absolute best.
Yeah.
But it had
we're
to
going to show everyone, that was the point. Yeah. And I mean, there were a lot of tears, is all I can tell you. We cried a lot at the end of last year. We cried a lot, even in training, and even on, one of the rounds we took block 2 out of the door, which is one of our toughest exits, particularly for outside centre. And and I could sit in the plane. I was thinking, the fight that we've been through, this is nothing, And I kind of looked across, at my teammate and said, "You've got this. We can do this. I trust you." I had no doubt in my mind that I trusted every single one of my team members, because we've been through much worse shit. What's this little skydiving competition thing that's going on, And we ate, that jump was probably one of our better jumps. We did the most incredible exit. Jump was really good or whatever. And when we landed, the outside centre was in tears, because you just, the relief that you actually pulled this off. And a lot of tears, I must be honest. But
well, I mean, skydiving can draw so many emotions out regardless, even if it's just a run-of-the-mill jump. But when you put yourself in that position with the kind of drive that you had to have to get there, and dedication, and selling houses, for fuck's sake, to get there, I'd be in tears too. I'd have been in tears if I had screwed the entire jump. I'd still, oh my God, I can't believe we're here. So I can imagine how amazing it must have been.
Yeah, and I think we did deserve to win, There's no question. And our fight was so much harder than the other teams, and I can say that hand on heart. And I respect everything that the other girls have done and how hard everyone works and the focus and everything else. There's no danger anyone was fighting harder than we were last year.
Well, that's the fun thing about the international community too, right? Is really they are incredibly supportive and want that competition. We talked pre-podcast about the episode that I did with Craig Gerard, and he was actively training the Russian team at the time. And as an American, I couldn't pass up such a fun subject of going, are you getting shit from Americans that you're training the Russians? And he's like, yeah, a little bit. But at the end of the day, everybody just wants a good competition. That's so he's like, I'm making sure that the field is equal and everybody's playing with the same toys, so to speak. And it's going to be who's the best team. And it was fun to hear that, especially as such a high profile American like Craig training the Russian team, this constant feud for, our entire lifetimes. And so, but the whole community is we just want a good competition. So it's unfortunate
I think that is actually the case. I mean, the French, girls came up to us and said, "Thank goodness you're here," because and I believe, we didn't compete at the UK Nationals, and the team that we've kind of been fighting with for for several years, they obviously won because they had no competition.
Sure.
And for them, of course they're national champions and great, but I think for them it would have been better to have beaten us.
Yes,
if we were there.
because forever. Well, forever in the public's mind, and maybe even to some degree in their minds, there's always going to be an asterisk next to that national champion because the reigning champions on bullshit weren't able to compete. So there's always that, we won, but which sucks for them too. Yeah.
I mean, they a hugely talented and incredible team. So, I'm pleased for them that they did well, etc.
Sure.
But I would have liked to have been competing.
Of course.
But now, we had so much support internationally, which was incredible,
Which is fantastic. Now, we talked again pre-podcast. I had to try and nail you down on a busy schedule because you've got a whole lot of things going on, including doing keynote stuff. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm obviously very passionate about skydiving and about the sport and about the journey and what it takes to get there. So I do a couple of presentations for people and for different groups of people or whatever, and they're saying, man, this is really interesting, why don't you think about doing more keynote speaking, for corporates, for sports teams, for schools and that sort of stuff. And I love it, the material, the information, the knowledge. I mean, I've spent so many years competing, and that stuff is relevant to business, to sports teams, whatever. And it's so I tell our story, which I think is an interesting story, and most people don't understand skydiving at all. So the fact that you've got some woman coming to talk about skydiving is interesting. But I cover kind of team dynamics, team goals, and setting goals, and just things like just take chances, take risks. Don't fear failure. That's kind of my signature thing is you don't fear failure. Don't fear making mistakes, because it will stop you doing the stuff you want to do. And when you're nervous, when you have that fear of making a mistake, you will make it, Whereas and maybe the mistake is not actually trying to do something you want to do, you've got to put yourself out of your comfort zone and just push. And it can happen, the most incredible things happen because you take chances.
Sure. It's funny it's funny with the general public how a story that from any other sport or any other perspective would be kind of cool information, and that's a good tip. But when it comes from a skydiver, someone that literally puts their lives on the line to achieve a goal, everybody's like, holy shit, and really sits up to take note. And it's the same crap that Tony Robbins has been saying forever, but it's much cooler because we're jumping out of airplanes to learn it.
Well, that's what I think. The classic thing is, whenever I give a keynote speech, people I don't know, when you say, you finish the chat, any questions, the first question, what do you think it is? Have you had a malfunction?
Of course.
Like, has there been any
close calls?
Close calls, whatever. It's the first question. I know it. I just started waiting for it to come. Yes. Because I'm not talking about, I don't believe I'm going to die on every skydive. I mean, I've got kids. My son is now a skydiver, and I don't have that fear. The adrenaline and the nerves for me is round one at a world championship. So I don't think it's a death-defying sport. I've never, I don't base jump. I have a risk analysis thing that says I'm not doing that, but because of the kids, etc. But the point is, I don't feel that, but that people love that part of it.
Of course,
and of course it is a high adrenaline. I mean, and of course it is adrenaline, but.
You always get that question, have you had any close calls? And my response is always to think, well, by whose standard? Because by a skydiver's standard, no, I've never had a what I would consider a really close call. But by the WFO walking down the street, I've almost died like 1,000 times. So it's all in perspective. It's kind of in how you can process all that. And of course, for a skydiver, just another run-of-the-mill malfunction.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I tell the story of the last malfunction that I had was a tandem malfunction, and I was laughing. I was actually having fun. I'm like, oh, no, I got this, because the person in front of me was kind of losing their shit, and I'm trying to keep them calm, and I'm giggling as I'm cutting away. But you can't explain that to someone that doesn't jump, thinks you're psychotic. They think you should be medicated.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And I mean, it's funny because I have such a dichotomy, my life with, kids, and you're walking down the school, in the schoolyard, to drop the kids off or whatever, and you're chatting to the other parents or whatever, and no one else skydives,
Right.
So even though I'm the most annoying mother ever, at the house, at home, your kids always think you're annoying and stupid and whatever.
Sure.
I'm cool, So they at school they say, yeah, well, my mum's a skydiver.
I was gonna say, do the kids brag about the fact that you do what you do?
They do, and at times you've been looking at perhaps giving up. Well, I've never been looking at giving up, but and I said, I don't know what's going to happen with the team now, whatever. And like my daughter, who it's a pain in the butt if I'm always away skydiving, whatever, and she says, yeah, but you can't stop, because then you won't be cool.
So you get to be PB around the house.
Yeah.
Take care of business there. So you said your son jumps as well. What did you think about that when he started? Were you?
I loved it. I skydived when I was pregnant with both of them. And he came to Croatia World Championships with me. I was 20 weeks or something during the competition. So he is and he just has been on drop zones the whole time. And any summer holiday or whatever, these 4 kids, the whole family gets dragged up to Texel in the Netherlands to jump, or we get for a training camp, or in Pereira Brava or wherever it is. They're on it. But he is so passionate, and as soon as he turned 16, that's what he was going to do, and he's
nice.
Started jumping, and I had no. I mean, his formation skydiving skill is really good, because he's done a lot of tunnel flying with me, or friends or whatever. So my only worry was about the landing, and his parachute control and landings have been incredible. I mean, he's only got like 100 jumps or something now, but he's currently working. He's in his gap year between school and university, and he's currently in the Maldives working in the skydiving club for 5 months, which I think is really shit.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough. I had my daughter has come out and made a couple of jumps, but never really had the drive to be a skydiver, which for me was a bit of a sigh of relief, only as a dad having a daughter going into skydiving. You got a whole different set of worries that go along with that. But I never worried about the whole safety and all that kind of stuff. But the cool thing for me, probably a bit like you, was she wrote her college entrance essay was entitled Amazing Life Lessons I Learned from People That Jump Out of Airplanes, which of course made my ego just swell huge, because I always worried that I was this degenerate dad that, was jumping out of airplanes all the time, and was I giving her the wrong lessons? And here she is using those lessons to get herself into college to become an attorney. So I'm like, okay, I will.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
So very cool stuff. What about your daughter? Do you think she's going to jump?
I don't think so. I mean, she's incredibly sporty. She's a sports scholar at school and stuff. So she plays, well, netball is the main sort of sport that she does. But I'm not sure. She's I'm a bit concerned about her. My son is quite sensible. I mean, he won't like me saying this, but he is he's sort of measured and he's diligent. And so when he started driving a car, he's kind of aware of what's going on, and I'm not worried about it. My daughter will get into a car. She just puts her foot down and we are going out of that gate. It doesn't matter if it's open or closed, you're like, so I don't know about skydiving and her, and I'm not sure. She's in a tandem, and she was so aware during the tandem jump, and this is, I think she was at 12 or something, and she hopped out of the plane and she's got the thumbs up or whatever, and then we start tracking off, she's waving at us, so she's completely aware of what's going on, making heart signs for the camera,
Right. It's so funny how much it's changed just in the one generation that we've been in the sport. Because I mean, I started skydiving in '96, you before me, and back then it was your family was like, why, what are you doing? This is dangerous. Why, how can you possibly think that this is a path? And now it's oh no, Annie skydives too, and it's almost as a second thought, it's so it doesn't carry the weight that it did when we started back then, which is kind of cool, I guess.
I mean, my parents were interesting because I'm not sure I told them I was going to skydive before I did, but my dad was a competitive sailor, so he used to sail. He was in the Olympic sailing team for a short while, and he was so inspirational, that kind of level of competitiveness and drive and what you had to do or whatever. So it was so cool. And when I started skydiving, he I think he said, I think you found your sport, nice. and that's really cool. And I in fact had a very bad landing accident in '95. So it was only a year after I started jumping, but I had nearly 200 jumps. And I was on a show jump I shouldn't have been on, and did stupid things and broke my ankle. And the surgeon at the time was saying he may have to amputate my foot and all this kind of scare stuff, which he didn't. Rebuilt the ankle and whatever. And I remember chatting to my dad after that, and he said, well, it's all about quality of life, isn't it? And my heart sunk because I thought, oh man, he means that if I break my ankle again, I have no quality of life. And in fact, what he meant was, if you don't do the things you love, you have no quality of life, That's cool. And that's true. And I've pushed on through a lot of, I've had a lot of pain and, had several surgeries over the years, but it's made me more driven and more passionate. And I don't, I would not have my life would not be quality without skydiving.
Absolutely, and I completely agree. Although I do wonder what our old folks' homes are going to be like, because oh man, I mean, all you do, especially is because I'm 54 at my age as well. All the buddies that I grew up with, the guys and girls that I've been jumping with for years, all we talk about is the shit that hurts.
Yeah.
This amazing jumper that. It's just, it's just constant. Yeah, this hurts, that hurts. I had surgery on this. I'm planning that. It's we went for it. Yeah,
and because of the injury that I had, I mean, I am fitter and stronger now than certainly than any other of my mum friends or whatever, and I know some cool people, who compete, and I'm a sports therapist, so I see a lot of kind of athletes who age groupers in good shape, but you're more driven. You make sure that you're fitter and stronger, and I'll do that extra hour in the gym, and I'll make sure that I'm physically there, because I know what it's like to be in pain, struggling to walk, and then and I can't run now because I've had my ankle's been fused. So, and I for a while I was competing in triathlon. So, it's disappointing that you can't do those things. But
sure,
I don't know. Yeah, but it is the joke that it's anti-inflammatories for breakfast, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I used to call it vitamin ibuprofen. Yeah, it's just you live off of that stuff, and it's For as much as shit hurts when I get out of bed, if I don't stay super active and train, it hurts that much more. So all the people that I know that have had substantial injuries in this sport train as hard as they do because they know it's so much worse if they don't.
Yeah.
You
And
have
when
to
you
keep it going.
stop, you know, you don't, what is your motivation to stay fit and strong or whatever? If you do, you know, if you do stop, you know, what keeps you, you know, what keeps that drive, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but as you say, the old age homes could be pretty messy.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird, really weird. So as we wrap things up, how do people, if they want to come train with you, they want to chit chat about your experiences, they want to know more about what's going on, how do they find you on social media? What drop zones are you going to be at? Do you have any events coming up?
I'm on Facebook, Vana Parker, and then Instagram and things. I'm doing quite a bit more coaching now, sort of 4-way coaching and things. So and try and do some fun stuff as well. You know, I'm hoping going to be back training fairly hard with the team again. But yeah,
Nice.
so I'm kind of around and very open to helping as many people as I can, and just being able to fly is
that's fantastic. It's wonderful to see somebody that's been at it for so long and pushed so hard to still have just as much passion now as you did back then, especially starting out on round parachutes and breaking stuff.
Yeah, but it is, and that's the point, isn't it? Where, you know, it's a thing of when do you stop, you know, and that's probably more my problem, is I can't.
Right. Well, I mean, but nowadays, I mean, you can keep going in skydiving for a long, long time. So there's not really any reason for you to stop if you still have the drive.
No, I mean, this year's been funny because I turned 50, as I said, and we've kind of hidden our ages for a long time. But now I thought, you know what, I need to embrace this. So I've been trying to jump at 50 different aircraft. So it's just tail numbers.
Sure.
And I'm on 43. And where are we now? End of November. So I've got 7, and the weather is shockingly bad in the UK at the moment. So I'm thinking of a trip to Florida in the next couple of weeks to try and knock off the rest of those things.
Oh, you'd easily do that in Florida.
Yeah,
a piece of cake. Well, I'll tell you what, I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of the incredibly busy schedule to sit and talk to me. It was absolutely fantastic catching up, and there will be a round 2, especially as you continue to compete. I want to hear all about it.
Oh, that's awesome. It's been so nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a great one.
Take care.
Bye. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get on the floor, get on the floor, get on